The polar vortex. Cold winter will come sooner than you think. With its crisp, freshly baked gingerbread aroma and snow-covered landscapes, winter is a season of enchantment and wonder. Nevertheless, this enchanted period may be interrupted by an unwelcome intruder, the polar vortex. Certain scientists predict that North America and Canada could encounter an exceptionally low temperature between the last days of October and the start of November, which would render winter akin to a polar horror. Conducting even the most basic tasks becomes arduous when the polar vortex arrives. Once enjoyed with a solitary warm blanket, cozy movie evenings may now necessitate an entire mountain of coverings to shield against the bitter cold. Creating snowmen and forts, which was previously an enjoyable activity, has now transformed into a struggle against frostbitten fingertips and hypoesthesia. Implementing the use of scarves as a thermal barrier could potentially be an indispensable measure. Worst of all? Predicting the trajectory of a polar vortex's expansion is a challenging endeavor, as its ultimate impact remains uncertain. Therefore, make preparations for the polar vortex is approaching. Hello everyone, welcome to Zeey, the Space Fanatics. If you are interested in recent space events, you are in the right place, so subscribe to the channel and ring the bell so you don't miss any of our daily videos. What is a polar vortex? A greater understanding of the polar vortex can be achieved through visualization. In essence, the term refers to the extensive winter circulation that takes place in both the northern and southern regions of the Earth. By effectively displaying the true composition of the polar vortex in 3 dimensions, this image underscores the correlation between lower altitudes and pressure systems. A phenomenon that occurs in the Earth's atmosphere, the polar vortex is not limited to a particular altitude but rather extends to great heights. The troposphere, the lowest stratum of the atmosphere, is the location of all weather phenomena. In contrast, the ozone layer is situated in the stratosphere, which is a stratospheric layer characterized by its greater depth and aridity. As a consequence of these distinctions, the polar vortex is frequently divided into 2 distinct regions, the stratospheric upper region and the tropospheric lower region. It is absolutely critical to monitor these components individually as they each serve a distinct purpose, but it is equally vital to comprehend their relationship. Circulating at greater altitudes with fewer obstructions causes the upper portion of the stratospheric polar vortex to exhibit a more symmetrical and circular feature. Conversely, the lower structure of the polar vortex in the troposphere is considerably more irregular and prone to disruptions attributable to the impact of formidable pressure systems and topographical features, including mountains. The polar vortex can be conceptualized as an enormous cyclone that encircles the complete North Pole and descends to the mid-latitudes. From the ground up, it is interconnected at all atmospheric levels, however, its configuration may differ at various altitudes. Meteorologists and scientists must comprehend the intricacies of the polar vortex and its distinction between its upper and lower regions in order to forecast weather patterns and their potential ramifications on the Earth's climate system with greater precision. Strong versus weak polar vortex. The polar vortex can be conceptualized as a formidable entity possessing 2 separate personalities, each driven by its own meteorological objectives. When the polar vortex is robust and secure, it safeguards the Arctic Circle like a superhero. This indicates that the polar circulation and jet stream are operating at maximum capacity, preventing the escape of frigid air and resulting in milder conditions in the United States. In the vicinity of the polar vortex, jet streams form a barrier. However, beware, when the polar vortex is weakened or disrupted, it can be likened to an untamed stallion. The jet stream becomes increasingly unstable and is unable to contain the frigid air. Prepare yourself, for that frigid air has now escaped the polar regions and is headed in an unidentified direction. There will be snowflakes in motion, and it will be the coldest winter ever. Currently, those desiring a winter idyll should cross their fingers that a weak polar vortex forms. But precisely how does one become a vortex of this weakness? Weakening causes and ELS 2021. An abrupt stratospheric warming is capable of causing a disturbance in the polar vortex, and this is precisely what transpired in 2021. Although abrupt stratospheric warmings do occur to some degree every couple of years, that particular occurrence was regarded as noteworthy and uncommon. Significant occurrences of this nature induce a weakening or reversal of the strong wind that encircles the polar vortex, leading to an exceedingly rapid increase in the polar stratospheric temperature by up to 50 degrees Celsius within a span of several days. Are you able to trust it? Their scientific and practical significance stems from the fact that these occurrences may precipitate severe weather in North America and Europe. However, the fundamental mechanisms remain incompletely understood. Until recently, the task of quantifying and monitoring such a massive occurrence through space measurements of wind posed formidable technical obstacles. Fortunately, in 2021, the distinctive functionalities of the ELS satellite operated by the European Space Agency yielded significant knowledge regarding the destabilization of the polar vortex. ELS was the inaugural satellite to conduct direct measurements of Earth's winds from outer space. The novel methodology employed in this study entailed the utilization of ultraviolet light pulses discharged from a laser to quantify the Doppler shift of dispersed light. This enabled the profiling of horizontal wind velocities within the lowest reaches of the atmosphere. Consider the following sequence of mind-boggling schemes. These illustrate the behavior of polar vortices between December 2020 and February 2021. Evidently, this entity is highly dynamic, as its modifications are indicated by the colors and arrow orientations. The latter provides wind direction information. Despite its main emphasis on the lower atmosphere, ELS managed to discern the impacts of the stratospheric polar vortex jet. This finding held great importance as it represented the first time such observations had been conducted on a worldwide level. In the past, localized measurements, temperature observations, computer models, and assimilative analyses were utilized to comprehend these phenomena. Scientists conducted direct observational studies to analyze the mechanisms underlying sudden stratospheric warming events using data obtained from ELS. These occurrences precipitated modifications in the structure of the wind, which subsequently impacted the tropospheric circulation patterns. Consequently, cold air masses emanating from the polar could traverse lower latitudes with greater ease. It is noteworthy that ELS demonstrated that, should a feeble polar vortex materialize, North America might experience colder temperatures than Europe. Nevertheless, periods of frigid air have also traversed Europe's southernmost regions, precipitating substantial snowfall in Spain. Would you like to know the potential consequences of a polar vortex dealteration on a city? There are several effects that warrant your attention. Simply put, just in case. Polar vortex consequences. Although not frequently observed, a feeble polar vortex can cause a number of substantial consequences for a municipality and its environs. Contemplate for an instant the scenario in which an unprecedented polar vortex devastates your city. Temperature fluctuations that are both erratic and extreme would ensue under these conditions. Even in regions where extreme cold is not typical, the city may occasionally encounter periods of extreme cold. On the contrary, unforeseen warm periods are also plausible in the winter season. The escalation of temperatures drives up the demand for heating systems, as individuals strive to maintain warmth throughout prolonged periods resembling winter. The increased demand may potentially strain energy infrastructure, resulting in augmented energy expenses for commercial and residential establishments. Nonetheless, that is not the sole repercussion that warrants concern. Although activities such as snowman construction and snowball battles can provide amusement, the accumulation of snow and ice can cause substantial disruptions to transportation systems. Perilous road conditions have the potential to impede individuals' ability to arrive at work punctually or attend celebratory gatherings, including Christmas banquets. Instances of flight cancellations or delays may occur at airports as a result of de-icing requirements. Further, crops and plants that have already initiated the process of blooming or sprouting may be adversely affected by unseasonably low temperatures. This has severe repercussions for the agricultural sector and farmers whose livelihoods depend on producing fruitful crops. Additionally, it is recommended to remain indoors when a polar vortex is weakening, as extended exposure to extremely low temperatures can result in severe health complications such as frostbite and hypothermia. Certain demographic groups, including the elderly and those enduring homelessness, are especially vulnerable to these perils. Despite the fact that a feeble polar vortex may contribute to these effects, it is crucial to remember that other significant factors, including infrastructure, preparedness, and local geography, also have a substantial impact on how a municipality reacts to such circumstances. Additionally, historical records indicate that extreme polar vortex events are exceedingly infrequent. Consequently, despite the cold conditions, it is improbable that there is cause for alarm. After nearly 3 years have passed since ELS delivered this critical piece of information regarding the polar vortex, we once again stand on the precipice of a disruptive polar vortex. A frigid pool will intensify over the northern United States and Canada over the coming days. (2023) Weak polar vortex. As autumn approaches its conclusion, winter weather is becoming increasingly apparent throughout central North America. States currently undergoing a severe freeze, including Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, and the western Dakotas, are currently encountering snowfall and sub-zero temperatures. The remaining portion of the contiguous United States, on the other hand, continues to experience unseasonably high temperatures in the upper to mid-80s. The precipitous weather contrast is a result of an Arctic front that is anticipated to traverse the nation in the coming days. While the remainder of the United States is presently enveloped by a considerably milder air mass, this front will bring considerably colder temperatures as it moves eastward and southward through the weekend and early November. A temperature anomaly map illustrates the severity of this frigid blast by depicting significantly lower than average temperatures during this time period. The official NOAA temperature forecast indicates that the frigid air anomaly will impact the entire United States from the north. Initially, the eastern United States is anticipated to experience a relatively mild climate in comparison to typical conditions. However, as the Arctic cold wave advances, this warmth is projected to be displaced. This meteorological occurrence serves as a poignant reminder that winter is imminent and underscores the imperative to make necessary preparations for the forthcoming harsher months. In light of the feeble polar vortex-induced Arctic front traversing the United States and Canada, it is critical to remain informed of the evolving weather conditions and implement suitable precautions to ensure one's personal safety and comfort. You may now be in the mood for your preferred hot chocolate. Alright guys, this video ends here. Thanks for watching. Do you think this winter will be colder than last year? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share and subscribe.